Dear brother and sister, the saints in Christ, welcome to a new episode. Will be a little bit longer than usual, more than half an hour, not very much longer, and also a very, I would say, interesting topic. We'll have plenty of Bible study in it. The title of this episode, it's actually composed of two main sections. The title is The Red Heifer and the Gaza War, and the second part, Response to Pastor Ezzat Shaker. Okay. We've seen in the previous, before I will start, just a quick reminder, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, like to the video, and if you can share it on your social media, that would be great too. We've seen in the previous episode, or even previous two episodes, the severe war between Satan and Yahweh. In today's episode, we are going to cover 2 points. The first point, the Red Heifer and the War of Gaza, or Gaza War. If you type, I do have this all in Arabic, but you should find it in English. There is a guy named Khaled Meshal. He's considered as the second man in Hamas. He got, like, there is a clip not only for himself but other clips as well. They say what they have done in the 7th of October was because Israel now got the Red Heifer, and this means they will destroy the mosque and build their temple on it. All right. So this is what was the motive behind whatever they've done on the 7th of October. To me, it doesn't make that much sense, because what they've done on the 7th of October actually will not destroy Israel. Actually, they attacked some civilians, but they did not. Don't you think that they thought about what the reaction of Israel would be? Of course, they thought about this, and they knew very well that they wouldn't be able to face Israel. But my own interpretation is Hamas is is subsidized by and trained and given weapons by Iran. And Iran all the time keeps talking, we are going not to this to Israel, like we have to eradicate Israel. But actually there's no action happened. So I think Hamas decided to do what it had done on the 7th of October, like to put Iran like in a life situation. Now we started the war and you have to come over. Like they started, like when you start the ignition of your car. After that everything will start. So I think they tried to tell them, hey, listen, we started, and can you see, we won the first day. Now it's your job now to come and bomb Israel and eradicate it, like that. But what happened actually? Iran didn't have the courage to do it. Anyway, so now so this is what this guy said. He did not say Iran and all stuff. He said because of the Red Heifer. So what is the story of this Red Heifer that they think was the trigger of this war that not ending now, and actually with all these consequences in the Strip of Gaza? We read about this in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, this is the ordinance of the law which the Lord has commanded, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they bring you a red heifer without blemish, and which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never come. You shall give it to Eleazar the priest, that he may take it outside the camp. Anything outside the camp refer to Lord Jesus. All right, especially so this actually Red Heifer referring to Jesus, that will be killed outside the camp. Where we are now. outside the camp, and it shall be slaughtered before him. And Eleazar the priest shall take some of its blood with his finger and sprinkle some of its blood 7 times directly in front of the tabernacle of meeting. Then the heifer shall be burned in his sight. Its hide, its flesh, its blood, and its offal shall be burned. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast them into the midst of the fire, burning the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes and shall bathe in the water, and afterward he shall come into the camp. The priest shall be unclean until the evening, and the one who burns it shall wash his clothes in water and bathe in water, and shall be unclean until evening. Then a man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and store them outside the camp in a clean place, and they shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for water of purification. It is for purifying from sin. And one who gathers the one who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. This is number 19, the book of Numbers, chapter 19. So we'll put now some notes about the red heifer. Should be killed outside the camp and must have 3 years of age. Its ashes will be used for some specific unclean stuff. All right. So in the book of Numbers chapter 19, it's basically for dead stuff, plus some other stuff will come to it. Let's read chapter 19 first. For an unclean person, they shall take some of the ashes of the heifer, burn it for purification from sin, and running water shall be put on them in a vessel. A clean person shall take hyssop and dip it into the water, sprinkle it on the tent where actually someone died, on all the vessels of that house or that place where someone died, on the persons who were there inside the house or the tent when he died, or on one who touched a bone, the slain, the dead, or the grave. So this is one of the most important things. But also they use it now when they build the temple on the mountain. In the mountain actually plenty of war took place, so there is plenty of bones of dead. So this means what? You need this red heifer to have it in order to cleanse to clean what? The temple mount itself. And also they have to sprinkle it on those Levites and the priests and the high priest, and also they must also sprinkle from the red heifer ashes on the temple itself as a building, and also on the utensils. So if you have everything ready and you do not have a red heifer, you cannot start the job. So actually, can you see that the Lord actually is putting this puzzle together or not? Here we go. So actually, what this man Khaled Meshal said in his speech about why they had this war against Israel on the 7th of October, or this attack, or which I would say anyway, that he is concerned about the red heifer, because if they had everything and there is no red heifer, then everything is on hold. But once you got the red heifer, this means what? You got the key. You remember when you build a house, or someone is building the house, and when it is finished they give you the key. This means what? Everything is ready now to get the key. All right. Or when you get the car and you place an order for a car, and when you tell you now everything is right, it is okay, register, and you come, then here we go, give the key. All right, here we go. So what actually Khaled Meshal mentioned is true. He must be concerned. must be very concerned. But my question would be for those Muslims, if you think that the Bible is a corrupted book, why you are so much concerned and to the point that you are panicking of this? If you think that this book is corrupted. So if I were you, I wouldn't care about all this stuff. But now you're concerned. This means what? In the back of your mind, the idea of it's a corrupted book, because actually there is no proof it is corrupted, it like makes you like stirred up and panicking even. All right. That was the second point or third point. Number 4. Do you think that in order to build the temple, the mosque must be destroyed? Not necessarily, by the way. I had some stuff, but not the. This is not the point for it for this episode. There is a chance that it will be built somewhere without touching the mosques. But in any case, even the Muslims wouldn't be interested to have the temple on the mountain, which they consider the whole mountain is holy, and even if anyone that is not a Muslim goes up there, is like causing the whole mountain to be unclean. But we'll not go in detail about this. I would now finish with this first point of the episode, like about why the war of Gaza started. They say because of the Red Heifer. So now we study why the Red Heifer is a problem, and actually why the Muslims should panic about such a thing that is mentioned in a book. They think it is a corrupted. So I hope that this actually will open the minds of many Muslims to go and search and see, is it really a corrupted book or not? And if it is corrupted, say, why you panic then? Why you started all this war and you have all this destruction in Gaza because of something coming from a book that it is a corrupted book? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, now we come to the second part of the episode, which I'm giving a response to Pastor Ezzat Shaker, and I would say all his domination and all those people that they say the same thing, not only for him, but actually because he mentioned something about the Red Heifer. That's why I put this particular for him. All right. He got a sermon on Sunday, the 22nd of October, which means 2 weeks after the start of the war, titled "Rebuilding the temple." Is there any prophecy about rebuilding the temple? And he says there is no. No, sir. There is plenty of them, and I'll get you at least one from the New Testament. All right, from the New Testament. And also he spoke in a way like I would say ironic way that the second coming of Jesus is linked to a Red Heifer. Where is the logic here? I'll answer also this one. And also he says, now the Jews, the current Jews, after being like in a diaspora for more than 1800 years, how would you know where are the priests and everyone, where is his tribe? Which, by the way, is very logic question. All right, so we'll answer this stuff as Bible study. But before I start with the Bible study, I would say the following. To him and all those who, especially in Egypt, talking about this war, they all of them go around the bush and they speak about the children, the women, the blood of whatever. And I wonder which children and which women that being killed you're talking about. Their context about the Gaza one. What about the Israelites ones? You don't mention about this. Why don't you mention the name Hamas? They scared. Why don't you mention who started this war? They scared. Why don't you mention, is it an action or a reaction? They scared just to please the Muslims. And to please the Muslims, what you do, you play hypocrisy with them. And also you brainwash your people against the Jews. And you put in the hearts and minds of your people, the Christian people, listening to you or watching you with hatred to Jews, which is totally unbiblical, by the way. And also he tried to say there is no prophecies and there is no and they are not even watching what's happening around you. As the Muslim actually do watch and get panic. All right. So this is generic for everyone. So it would be more honorable not to speak, and this would be considered as wisdom if you can't because of your circumstances, rather than to be hypocrite. Sorry to say that. All right. Now let's go for the Bible study. We'll answer 3 points. Before I start, I would say the Bible teaches us in the 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, do not despise prophecies. Do not despise prophecies. Which means don't underestimate it. Don't neglect studying them. If you don't understand them, you have every excuse. You might try or not. It's entirely up to you. But don't say there is none. No, there is some. There is plenty, by the way. Why the temple needs to be built? Number one, we said don't to despise. Number two, actually to fulfill many prophecies. For the Jews to get to know Jesus. The Jews that did not believe in Jesus yet. So there is plenty of stuff is going to happen and needs. By the way, some people mentioned to me, we are the new temple. Yes, we are the new temple, but for the Jews, you don't know that. So they need the temple. When they see the Antichrist, they will think he is the Christ. And when they realize he is not the Christ, he is the Antichrist, then they will see Jesus in the Great Tribulation. Then will get to know to Jesus. And plenty of them will believe and they will preach during the tribulation and in the millennium. Because they are not just a title, the chosen people of Yahweh. No, they have a big job to be done. Number 3, plenty of prophecies in the Old Testament. They say, no, this is for the second temple. No, it is also for the third one. However, what will you do about the prophecies in the books of the prophets post the exile? There is some prophecies there about the return of the Jews and about the temple. What would you say about this? This is after they came from exile. So definitely talking about the third one. All right. Number 4. There is a prophecy in the New Testament about building a temple after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Which is the prophecy about the Antichrist. Is the Antichrist related to the first or second coming of Jesus? Second coming of Jesus. Did he come or not yet? The Antichrist. Not yet. So, what does it say in 2 Thessalonians? It says the following. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come, which is the judgment, unless the falling away comes first. By the way, in Greek, this word falling away actually means rapture, but this is not a big issue now. Even if you think it is just a sliding back in righteousness, okay, we'll let it go. And the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits, actually he will enthrone himself as God in the temple of Yahweh. He will put himself as God in the temple of Yahweh. So this is the Antichrist. Cannot be, as some people say, this is Titus, the Roman emperor who actually destroyed the temple in 70 AD. He did not sit there and declare himself as God. Plus, next, declaring himself as the only God. And this is, by the way, the abomination of desolation that Daniel spoke about it. That when the Antichrist declared himself as God in the temple of God, showing himself as if he is God. The coming of the lawless one, which is Antichrist, is according to the working of Satan with all power, signs, and the lying wonders. So Titus, the Roman emperor who destroyed the second temple in 70 did not do any signs, did not do any wonders. But the signs and wonders that the Antichrist will perform, even mentioned in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. And the book of Revelation was written after the destruction of the second temple. So definitely there is a temple of God. It is not the Catholic one, for example. It is the temple of God in Jerusalem, where the Antichrist will sit there. And with all unrighteous deception among those who perish. So there is a prophecy in the 2 Thessalonians about the Antichrist. He will sit where? In the temple of Yahweh. So where is the temple of Yahweh? Not now, but will be built. And actually the Jews, it's already there. All right? Just to be assembled. All right? So don't tell me there is no prophecies. So this temple must be built. So the Antichrist should come and the church will be raptured. Of course, we don't believe in rapture, those guys. But the Jews will get to know Yahweh by that. All right? I will put also for you a great episode for Brother Akram Habib regarding building the temple for the Antichrist, where actually he will bring even sayings of fathers of the 4th century about the necessity that there is a temple will be built in Jerusalem for Yahweh, but it will be the Antichrist will go there. The Jews will think he is the Christ, but in 3.5 years' time they will realize he is not the Christ, the Antichrist, and after that they will realize that Jesus will appear, and they will realize that this is the true Messiah. So there is a necessity to build the temple so the Antichrist will be revealed. Okay, so this is the first point. So to Pastor Ezzat Shaker and all those who do not believe that there is any prophecies, what about this prophecy? Of course they will go around the bush about it, but if you go and read properly, it must happen. So some people say, this second temple. No, second temple, talking about the third temple. Antichrist related to second coming. Antichrist did not come yet. All right? So it is not the second, it's the third temple. And it cannot be Titus the Roman emperor, because all this stuff is not applied to him. Second point, he says in an ironic way, second coming of God is linked to a cow. Where is the logic here? Okay, I got like 2 points here. Number one, to Pastor Ezzat and those who say, well, he is the only one actually mentioned this particular point. So I'll tell him, Pastor Ezzat, do you realize that the first coming of the Messiah was actually related to a cow? We read in the book of Luke the following. Then the angel said to them, the shepherds, do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For there is born to you this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be the sign to you. What is the sign? You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, laying in a manger, or lying in a manger. Lying where? In a manger. Manger of what? Of cows, of cattle, right? So you can ask the same question. Where is the logic here? So the sign. So he told them, what is the sign? You will find a child wrapped, and where about is he? He's lying in a manger. Here we go. So his first coming was linked to this. Second thing, I would ask you a question that even Muslim ask this question. Where is the logic where you say that Yahweh, the unlimited God, how come He comes in a limited human body, and he gets tired, hungry, needs to sleep, and even die. What is the logic? No logic. So unfortunately, what you've mentioned about how come that second coming is linked to a cow, unfortunately, it is not a valid question, Pastor Ezzat. All right. Number 3, actually, if you follow what's happening, even the last, like I would say, like 3-4 years, you will find actually the appearance of a red heifer now is really a great miracle, and actually the Muslims should be definitely get worried, and we as Christians, we should be actually very proud, because when this happening, this means what? The rapture is about to happen, or the second coming, if we would like to, if you don't believe in the rapture, but you believe in second coming, because this is related to second coming. Before I explain in detail how the appearance of the red heifer at the moment is really a miracle, just a quick reminder that actually Israel was destroyed and taken off the map, and Jerusalem was flattened to the ground, and even its name, because this is what Satan wants, was it changed from Jerusalem into Alita Capitolina by Emperor Hadrian in year 138 AD. So there was no Israel as nation. There was no Israel as a country or a state on the map of the world. There was no city called Jerusalem on the map of the world for 1,810 years. I mean from 138 AD up to 1948 AD. So after all these, what happened? Israel came back to life. This is what Lord Jesus said in Matthew 24. When you see the fig tree branch get tender, and can't you see this? This would be a big disaster if no one can see it. So the Jews came back to life. And what happened? Jerusalem came back to life, and even declared as the capital city of Israel. So this should ring the bell. If you cannot see it, this means what? Actually need some glasses to see. I mean spiritual glasses. This means what? The second coming is like is happening. So if you can see this, you have a trouble. Spiritual, I mean, you are in spiritual trouble. If you cannot see this, so actually Muslim can see it, and you cannot see it. What a shame. So let's continue about this. So this is the second coming of the Jews. Now, what about the red heifer? I give you the history of the red heifer since Moses until today. Since Moses until year 70 AD, this is about 1500 years, there were 9 heifers, red heifers, being born and being used by Israelites, of course. 9. Okay? Since year 70 AD until the 19th century, this is nearly 1800 years, no red heifer at all was born. Full stop. Can you believe this? All right. In the 20th century, I would make sure I mention one that I'm sure of. In 1984, which was after year 1967, when Israel captured the rest of Jerusalem. And since 1967, they started thinking it looks that we can build a temple, because they came back, began to be a great nation, and they started saying we have to get ready for that. So they started thinking of this, and a few years later, actually in 1984, a red heifer was born actually in Israel. And at that time, there was also a panic in the world, because people said this means it's the second coming. And even determined, they said it's in April 1984. But what happened? The red heifer that was born, we mentioned that must be slaughtered when it is 3 years old, not before that. So actually within those 3 years, it developed some defects, so wouldn't be fit like to be used. That's it. And since then, 1984, we haven't heard about anything. But they still, I would say, with faith, getting the temple ready, and now it is ready just to be assembled. All right. Now come to the next point. In 2021, 5 red heifers were born in Texas in the United States and been shipped to Israel. Those 5 red heifers, so far, all of them are perfect. They will turn 3 years of age in April 2024, like in a few months' time. Of course, the Israelites praying that at least one will be perfect, because all that you need is one, and you slaughter one. Because unless you have these ashes, you cannot do anything at all. Even if the Muslims tells you come and build your temple, and you build it, you cannot perform anything in it, spiritually, like ceremonially, because it is unclean. Even the priests are unclean. You cannot offer a sacrifice because it is unclean. The temple itself will be built on a mountain, which is, the mountain itself is unclean, has plenty of dead bones, killed people over many years. So in fact, it is, the whole thing is unclean. Exactly as you have your car, beautiful car, whatever, but you don't have the key. So you cannot start the car. So actually you can see now the puzzle is getting together, and Muslims can see it, but Christians, most of them, they cannot see it. So actually now everything is ready. So actually in April, God willing, I read that they're planning to slaughter the red heifer on the temple of Olives, on the mountain of Olives, on the mountain of Olives in April 2024 during the Passover. And now they will be ready. What? We have it. We have everything. So once the Lord would intervene somehow, and they will build and just to assemble it, then they have what? They have the key. Okay, now let's clean what? The Temple Mount. Clean what? The building itself, the utensils, the priest, the high priest, the Levites. Let's start. Go for it. Here we go. So this is the way it is. So actually, to have the red heifer now, it is a miracle by all means. You cannot deny this unless you are not aware or you close your eyes. All right? Also, Jews, by the way, they believe that when the 10th red heifer appears, this means the Messiah is about to appear. And by the way, you can believe this or not, there is a guy now, and I saw him a few times, I think last year. They think this is the Messiah. He's a young man. He has some abnormal capabilities of memorizing the Torah, by the way. And they think he is the Messiah. So everything is ready now. He will be, of course, the Antichrist. So, but they think once the red heifer number 10 is appeared, then the Messiah is coming. So I presume once the red heifer is there, slaughtered it, I heard a few times they would like to reveal this guy as the Messiah. So they might do it like that. All right. So what would you say now? Definitely it is a miracle by all means that the Israelites come back in 1948, and plenty of Christians, they cannot see it. How come? What happened to you guys? The Lord said, when you see the fig tree had its branches tender, its branches now is tender. Just your hatred to the Jews and to their salvation make you blind like that? What a shame. Anyway, so definitely, yes, I would say the stage is ready now for the second coming. Part of it, building the temple. Okay, now we come to the third point for Pastor Ezzat Shaker. Also, he was the only one. He said, how come the Jews now? How would you know the Jews, and how would they know the priests and the Levites and everyone's tribe? A very logical question, but unfortunately you exclude the extraordinary ability and the capacity of Yahweh to what? To create life from death. They can do it, and actually it happened. Logically, he has every logic to think about it. But what would the... my goodness. Abraham took his son to slaughter him, but he was 100% sure that this son will come back to life, because the Lord promised him that out of your son you will have the descendants. So this is not very difficult for the Lord to keep his people during the diaspora and to get them the chance to understand the tool to get ready to know that. So you know what happened? You know what happened? By the way, before I go in this detail, in the Feast of Tabernacle of last year, 2023, I think it was September. It happens late September, early October sometimes. This particular one, actually the priests were there, and actually they celebrate the Feast of Tabernacle in a massive way that didn't happen, I would say, over the last since the year 70 AD. And I heard that tens of thousands of Jews from around the world came to Jerusalem to celebrate it. The celebration continued 19 hours. That was the last day, as you read in the book of John chapter 7. I watched part of it. The part that I watched of it is the following, all right, mentioned in the like in the Old Testament and New Testament also. The high priest took the vessel, and actually he went to the pool of Siloam, because they found it and the water there, and actually he filled with great joy this vessel that made for the new temple. He took the water from there with a great I would say celebration, singing, with plenty of priests and the Levites to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacle in year 2023. Was massive one. All right, I watched part of it, especially the part when the priests just went with great celebration with other priests and the Levites, and in their priestly garments, by the way, and vests, and filled water from the vessel from the pool of Siloam, and celebrated the tabernacle. Of course, there was no altar. They did some, like you can say, like a demo of an altar, but just to say we are one step ahead, one step closer to the thing to happen. What about now the how do you know the everyone's descendants? Listen to this, Pastor Ezzat and everyone. In December 1990, see, the Lord is having his own timetable. They found 12, I would say, boxes, including, how would you call this, like coffins, including dead bones, in a cave by accident, I would say miraculously, during some archaeological work on a hill to the south of the city of Jerusalem, of Old Jerusalem. One of those 12 boxes or coffins was decorated in a very nice way, like somehow, and it is some inscription on it says, Joseph, son of Caiaphas. And then they found, of course, some bones in it, and they found it is for a person about 50 years of age. Josephus, the historian guy, who is number one as Jewish historian, assured that this guy, who's called Joseph, son of Caiaphas, was actually the high priest during the time of Jesus, and he was actually the high priest from year 18 AD up to year 36 AD. See, he was the high priest. This is from the Jewish Antiquities, chapter 18, paragraph number 35. So now, what happens when you get the bones of this high priest? Easy. With DNA test, you can know you can get everything. And this actually what happened, because they discovered this in 1990. And as I've mentioned, the high priest is already appointed, and the priests are already appointed and they trained what to do. All right. So actually, this way they get to know the priests, and through this they got 12 boxes. You might get to know your tribe, but the most important ones is the Levites ones. All right. I would like now to conclude this episode with 4 quick notes. Number 1, Muslims without intention, without their knowledge, they actually fulfilling the prophecies and are really, yes, maybe concerned, but because the prophecy is there and they feel panic when this is happening. Number 2, on the other hand, many Christians, they really don't care. They are in totally different worlds. They don't feel it. Really? What a shame. Number 3, this would remind me with what? When Lord Jesus was born and the wise men came, what happened? The wise men were seeking for what? The address. Who gave them the address? The Jews. But what happened with the Jews? They didn't go. But who actually did go? The wise men. They went, they saw Jesus, they worshipped him, and gave him some gifts, and went back to their homeland. So those ones, the strangers, were interested, but the local ones were not interested. So exactly what happened now with some Christians. What happened? They are not interested. Meanwhile, the Muslims are interested. And I hope also that the Muslims will take it seriously and find out whether it is really a corrupted book or not. Last observation for this, in this episode, for these observations, to those who do not believe in the return of the Jews or rebuilding the temple, I would say what is mentioned in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 3, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. I repeat this again. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. So wait for an appointed time. The timetable of the Lord. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you found it useful as Bible study, and share it on your social media. And unless the Lord comes, we'll meet again in another episode. May the Lord bless you all. Salam alaikum.